starting in about 1 minute. That's all. I think I have already recording is started. Shri Krishna Parabrahmane Maha Shri Lakshmi Narasimha Parabrahmane Maha Shri Lakshmi Hayavana Parabrahmane Maha Sarvam Shri Krishna Arpanamas. I guess you hear me well. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. So a couple of things. So far, you've been listening to. Oh, I have to check my internet. Hold on a second. Make sure my internet is right. Should be okay. So far you've been listening to Kena Upaniṣad. Maybe at the end of this class, you should give me some feedback as to whether this approach is working or not. Because what I'm right now doing is finished Shankara Bhashya and Kena Upaniṣad. We are taking the explanation given by my grandfather about Kena Upaniṣad now, before taking up Rangaramanuja Bhashya, which is from the Viśiṣṭādvaita Bhashya. As I had earlier told you, my grandfather takes a totally different, some kind of a different perspective. He very much follows Rangaramanuja Bhashya in some ways and the Viśiṣṭādvaita theory, but he thinks that there's something missing in the Rangaramanuja Bhashya, in particular of yoga and details of yoga. So his approach is very unique and different. So we're going to continue with this. Hope this approach is okay. You'll please let me know at the end of this lecture. So we'll see what can be done. And you might want to understand why we are going slow here. Because let me start my lecture, then you will know. Let me start sharing my stuff. This is not the one. Just a second, please. Now we should be on the right. Just a second. Sorry for the delay. Okay. So what we were doing earlier was we were doing the fourth verse of Sampatenga, Kena Upaniṣad. So this Brahman is other than what reason can further show, other than what cannot be known by intuition. So we hear from the elders who describe it through their higher meditation. So Brahman is evading our knowledge. So it's not perceptible to our senses, not to our mind, and not to intuition. So what is this? Let's go further. Knowing is by senses and mind. We can perceive and conceive God is not a precept or a concept. Anyadeva tat viditat. It is different from what we know. Having the concept of God through imperfect, having the concept of God, though imperfect, we can become intuitive, but we can know He is majestic and infinite. So by intuition, you can probably figure out that God is there, God is majestic, God is infinite, and things like that. That could be available through yoga, right? This aspect is already stated in the Shanti mantra of the Ishavasya Upanishad. Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. We already covered that. So reason and intuition cannot give detailed knowledge of Atman or Ishvara, but just get a just an idea of feeling of, oh yeah, God is there, something like that. Many yogis stop at realization of Jivatman and go into a coma-like state and come back and say Atman is devoid of all forms of knowledge. Elders do not commit that mistake. These are Parama Yogis. This is indicated by Purvesham instead of Purvebhyam, using some grammatical issue, Natasya Shrunoti. Purvesham term indicates that those are very much attracted to those who consider themselves similar to God. So these are Parama Yogis, which are represented by the word Purvesham. We have covered this, so I'm just coming. Yadvacha anabhyuditam, enavag abhyudyate, tadeva brahmatvam vidhi, nedam yadidam upasate. This is the 5th verse of Kena Upaniṣad. That which is not enlightened by words, that which is not shown by words or perceived by words or speech of any kind that takes the form of description and definition. So that which cannot be described or defined, and that by which speech sprouts out. But that is where the speech comes from as efficient. See, we see our speech is efficient. We can convey, but that is coming from somewhere, but that from where it is coming, we cannot define or describe. Know that only as Brahman and not the one ordinary yogis concentrate, meditate, and get absorbed into. So the meditation is always through 3 methodologies, 3 processes known as Dhāraṇā, which is to focus and concentrate. Dhyāna means to meditate. Samādhi, to get absorbed. So this is explained, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi are the 3 higher levels explained in the 8-limbed Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga means 8-limbed, 8 steps. So the Patanjali, who is a Rishi, has given this 8 methods, 8 steps to get to true knowledge, which is in Samadhi. Right? These 3 processes put together are known by a single term called samyama. So this is in the yoga textbooks, particularly in the Yoga Sutras. In Upanishadic literature, the word Brahman is used in the first time. Where is it? In the original verse. In this verse, so we are doing the 5th verse now. Yadvacha anabhyuditam yenavag abhyudyate. That means speech cannot explain it, but speech springs from it. That is Brahman. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi na idam edidam upasate. Here the word Brahma is presented to the public, presented to the audience, to the student for the very first time. In Kena Upaniṣad, Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi, know that as Brahman, na idam yadidam nedam yadidam upasate, not the one ordinary people meditate on. And this Upāsanā is explained as Dhāraṇā, Dhyāna, Samādhi, that is focus or concentration, meditation, and absorption. The student, so the Brahma word comes in the first time it is introduced. The student who is well versed in the Kanda knows it roughly as a supreme deity. Kanda means in the Karma Kanda or the earlier Kandas of the Upanishad, before the Upanishad is the Aranyaka, and the Aranyaka, So the Kena Upaniṣad is from a particular Aranyaka, right? We said that even while explaining Shankara Bhashya on it. So in that Aranyaka, it is mainly Karma Kanda. Karma Kanda means the process of action, process of rituals. And in that, word Brahman is denoted to, is said to be the supreme deity. In the Devata Kanda, that means Devata Kanda is supposed to be the next Kanda. See, the literature, I think, has Devata Kanda has 12 chapters, and the Upanishad, the Brahma Sutra is the later one. I think, hold on a second. Devata Kanda is there. Totally there are 20. Out of 20, 12 plus 4 plus 4. So 12 plus 4 plus 4. 12 is Devata Kanda in the middle. 4 is later, 4 is earlier. The 4 is the earlier one is the Karma Kanda. So there, at the end of the Karma Kanda, at the end of the Devata Kanda, the section, Kanda means section. So at the end of Devata Kanda, it says, Ante harau tad darshanat saha Viṣṇu aha hitam brahma ityachakshate. I could not find the quote here. And this quote was written in my grandfather's book. So I just cut and paste that actual his handwriting. He passed away in 1983. So all I have is his handwriting here. Ante haro taddarshanat saha Viṣṇu. That Brahman is denoted by the term Viṣṇu, and it is harau, it is Hari. Tad darshanat saha Viṣṇu. It is said as Hari. Ahahitam Brahma ityachakshate. That Hari is known as Brahman. So this is, one has to understand, well, it is tough to, some people may not like it because some acharyas have, not exactly acharyas, some followers, some section of the community, right, Smarta community and all, they have respect and absolute belief in Hara, which is Shiva or Ishvara. Ishvara, Parvati Pati Shiva. Thing is, here though, in the Vedas, when, let me ask you a question. Can anyone answer this? Quick answer, there's a one word answer pretty much. What does any of the Vedas start with? Before you chant any portion of the Veda from anywhere, you say something in the beginning. What is that? Anyone? Okay, I see a chat box here. This is correct. Ramanujam N has written Harihi Om. Look at that. Harihi Om. Channo Mitrasham Varunaha. Channo Bhavatvat Yama. This is the first. The Shri Gurubhyo Namaha is said, there is no doubt about it, but it always starts with Harihi Om. It doesn't matter whether a person is from the Shaiva community, Smarta community, Ganapatya community, Shakta community, anybody who chants the Vedas have to start with the Harihi Om beginning. Here, Ante Harota Darshanat, I'm not sure what exactly it is. Probably at the end of that Devata Kanda, it is said that this Hari is same as Viṣṇu. Right? And if the Hari is same as Viṣṇu, there is another famous Narayana Upanishad, Mahanarayana Upanishad, it says, Narayanaja vidmahe vasudevaya dhimahi tanno Viṣṇuh prachodayāt. The thing is, Narayana is same as Vasudeva, is same as Viṣṇu. That is originally in the Rig Veda itself. So there is no doubt. Does Brahman refer to here? This is very important in the Viśiṣṭādvaita view, right? So what my grandfather Sampatangar is saying is there is a Vedic support for this. In the Vedas, in the Karma Kanda itself, Hari is designated as Brahman, and he is also known as Viṣṇu. That is what need to be understood here. Next. I hope this is clear, right? Is this clear so far? Any questions so far? Quick questions, not like very long questions, only relevant questions to this
Clear.
topic.
Sorry to clear.
Everything okay, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the teacher asked the student to remember the word Brahman. That means, in this verse, Tadeva Brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. See, Brahman is not defined here. That is Brahman. Know that as Brahman, not the one people yadidam upasate. The ordinary yogis concentrate on some deities or something. That is not the one. That which is the source of all speech, that is Brahman. That's what is being said here. The Brahma word, without any introduction, it is dropped into the Upanishad because it was already said in the Devata Kanda that the Brahma referred to Hari or Viṣṇu earlier. That's all he is mentioning. So Brih comes from Brih Upache is also there, but my grandfather, for some reason, has used these two roots. Bhashartaha Udyamane. Bhashartaha means expression. Udyamane means comes into being, I think. So Brahman represents expression of one entity into different innumerable forms. The absolute Brihat, Brihat is absolute, that coordinates both meanings. That is Bhashartaha and Udyamane. What does that mean? A synthetic absolute existing in countless forms. So the one thing existing in many forms is the meaning of Brahman, and that God is supreme because that is the one. You cannot find anything which is not that. So that is the one which is existing in different forms, in innumerable forms. The Puruṣa-Sūkta, which is a famous portion of the Vedas, which is recited in pretty much any event by all the sections of Vedic followers. It says, Pado asya Vishva Bhutani Tripadasya Amritam Divi. It says, all the things in this universe, just a quarter of the Supreme, 1/4 of the Supreme. That's what it says. It is symbolic in a way. It says that the universe you see, the universe you don't see, the universe which is hidden, it's dark matter or whatever, all these perceptible things, it's just a part of the Supreme. The part is, Supreme is much, much more than the part. Though the Supreme doesn't consist of parts, the statement conveys that the universe is only an infinitesimal expression of the infinite. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, Ekam Shena Sthito Jagat, he says, Krishna says, I can create this universe or do anything with it with just one end from here, sitting here at one end. That's what Krishna says. So the Supreme, though doesn't contain parts, is infinite and much, much, much more bigger than this universe. Through Upāsanā, worship or meditation, the universe can be known. Because universe can be known by focus. Focusing on anything, you can know it, right? Eventually. Brahman remains incomprehensible. Nedam yadidam upasate indicates that neither speech nor the human faculties can fully comprehend Brahman. But the external universe, probably you can comprehend. But Brahman, you cannot comprehend. That's what it says here. So in the next few shlokas, we're actually doing the first section of the Kena Upaniṣad. This is the end of the first section. What does it say? There are several statements here. All of them indicate that there are other aids we possess, the other senses we possess, but none of these senses is efficient enough to understand and perceive Brahman. So all the tools we have, our senses is the only tool. And that's what we use to perceive the external world and science and concepts and things like that. Unfortunately, all these senses fail to understand Brahman. And that is why these are explained in this. First, speech was said earlier, not only speech, but the other senses, manas, mind, the eyes, ears, and the prana are our life force. All of them are incapable to understand Brahman. And the verses are, Yan manasa namanute ena hurmano matam tadeva brahmatvam vidhi edam yajidam upasate. The first verse is about the mind. It says, look, the mind cannot perceive Brahman, but because of Brahman, mind is understood. Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yajidam upasate. Let me see how Sampatangar understands this. He says this in a very simple way. They're all like series of paradoxical statements. Brahman is transcendent in nature. Brahman cannot be known by mind, yet the mind itself is known by Brahman. Brahman is not seen by eye, yet the eye sees everything through Brahman. By Brahman is because of Brahman here, because by using the tool of Brahman, we know mind. Brahman is not seen by eye, but yet the eye sees everything through Brahman, means because Brahman exists. Brahman cannot be heard by ear, yet the ear hears through Brahman. That is, because Brahman exists, ear can hear. Brahman doesn't live by prana. The life force does not energize Brahman. Yet our life force functions because of Brahman. I think this is very clear, right? The recurring phrase, neti, I'm sorry, neti is not there. Nedam yadidam upasate. Na idam, this is a little bit, in a way, neti is also true, but na yadidam upasate is what occurs in the Kena Upaniṣad. So while upasana or worship or meditation is necessary on the spiritual path, what is this upasana, worship and meditation? This was said in the Karma Kanda itself. In the earlier portion before the Upanishads, there were rituals. The rituals were explained, and the rituals involved worship and meditation. Some kind of meditation. That was not necessary, that is not sufficient. It is necessary though, because karma and jnana are all necessary. Karma is necessary, rituals are necessary. This is a different take, and I will come to that. Many of the acharyas have changed their position, but here my grandfather is saying that look, in the Upanishads, in the very original Vedas, it's very clearly mentioned that rituals are needed too. They're necessary on the spiritual path. It remains insufficient by itself to fully know Brahman. Only by rituals and meditation you cannot know Brahman. The student, though well versed in the rituals and scriptural studies, must understand this limitation. So, first the student is taught the karmakanda and the rituals. So he is well versed, and also the scriptural studies and duties. But must understand the limitation of all the work he has done so far. According to Vedavyasa, that is Brahma Sutras written by Vedavyasa, a true priest must be a yogi. So in any of these rituals, there are different rituals prescribed, right? Any of these rituals, whatever they are prescribed, even they are known as Agni Karya. Many times these rituals involve fire sacrifices, right? The person, the true priest, should be a yogi. He should be not just an ordinary person, a yogi, capable of bestowing effective blessings. See, anybody can bless. Oh, I bless you, I bless you. That may not work, right? A yogi is capable of bestowing effective blessings. His blessings will be true, suggesting that direct spiritual realization beyond ritual knowledge is ultimately required. So even a priest who officiates these yajñas and sacrifices which were there in the Karma Kanda, prescribed in the Karma Kanda, the priest himself should be pretty much realized about spirit, Atma, Paramatma, and all. And that is ultimate, that is anyway required. The final realization is required for everybody, but the priest should be well versed and should be realized yogi. Nowadays, you may ask, who are those realized yogis? Where are they? That's a different question. We'll talk about it a little later. So the students studying Upanishads must come from the priestly class as evidenced in all Upanishadic texts. So in the Upanishadic text, if you look at any priestly class, they say he comes from the priestly class. So, well, I will tell you a little bit about this eventually, but let's understand the meaning here. Such students already understand Upāsanā, worship meditation, as yogic process through which they realize their role as agents in scriptural rituals. So any person who does any kind of Upāsanā or worship or meditation in the Vedic sense, not today's sense, in the Vedic sense, they know that they are the agent, that is karta. Karta means I am the doer of these yajñas, the sacrifices. And in the Agnikarya, I am the doer of the Agnikarya. Knowledge alone is insufficient. It must be applied knowledge, karyata jnana. That means he should know the details of how to work on in the rituals. Practical knowledge put into action. Why is this? See, look at, we need to understand where we are here. What are we talking about here? We're talking about a special science known as Mīmāṁsā. Pūrva-Mīmāṁsā, the earlier Mīmāṁsā. Uttara-Mīmāṁsā means Upanishads, but Pūrva-Mīmāṁsā means Karma Kanda. What is that so great about this Karma Kanda? That which is beyond our ordinary sensory activities. Why? Through those rituals, one can get powerful results. Like somebody does not have the right kind of child, he can say, I want a child of this kind, and do a yajna, sacrifice. Somebody says, look, we have famine here, we need rain, let's do this yajna, and we can get rain. In fact, what I heard is a long time back, somebody told me, during those times, there were no like oral exams and exams like, exams after somebody studied the Vedas. The exams would be like this. The student would say, now that you have studied the Vedas, can you chant the mantra which can invoke fire or Agni? So by just chanting the mantra, he would create fire. If he doesn't create the fire, he says that you have not studied the mantras properly. That means this mantra chanting and all the adhyayana, Veda adhyayana is not just rote repetition of somebody saying something in the Vedas and the student repeating, oh, then after 82 chapters is over, somebody would come out and say, I have studied the Yajurveda. That is not like that. So the ordinary nowadays people say that, I have repeated what my guru told me about the Yajurveda. Now I know the chanting of the Yajurveda. I chant it in the temple, chant it in all these places. That is not sufficient because the chanting involves invoking the gods, invoking the deities to create some real effects. So that is Mīmāṁsā. It is much beyond so that is why that whole hidden process of Mīmāṁsā, it's pretty much gone. Nowadays, you don't find. But some people just go report, oh, I did this yajna, I passed my final exam. I did this yajna somewhere in the temple. Somebody put together some fire and some people together. They did this yajna and something good happened to me. Something happened to me. So many times I have seen some people, I don't want to name names at this point. Somebody did a yajna because that person was suffering from cancer. And these people said, the doctors gave up hope and say, we have done everything we could do to save this person. Unfortunately, this cancer has gone to stage 4, and we, as human beings and doctors, cannot um, cure this person. So you should do whatever you want to do. These people went and did Mrityunjaya Homa. The Mrityunjaya means the Homa is a sacrifice done to win over death. Mrityunjaya means win over death. And they did a sacrifice in a temple and all. Unfortunately, 30 days later, that person died. So what is the value of this Homa? They did not win over this Homa. In the long time, the person who, what do you call, in the Yajñas, there are a lot of angas or subordinate activities, right? And also in Yajña, Advaryo, Hota, Udgata, the person who is expert in Samaveda, Advaryo, Brahman. There are 4 people who are supposed to be extremely spiritual and knowledgeable. Such kind of people may not have come in, and that yajna may not have been done properly. So the yajna did not work. The Mīmāṁsakas at that time used to feel that the yajna will never fail. Yajna, when properly done, it will always succeed in giving the fruit promised in that kind of sacrifice. So that's what is the belief. Today, do you think such yajnas and people are there? No. So this kind of process died 2000 years ago. So today, whatever we call as, oh, this guy is a Brahmin, this guy is from the priest class, this guy is from this one, they are all like superficial. Even at the time of Shankaracharya, he says that the Vedic practices and the Vedic culture has died, has come down significantly. That's what Shankaracharya says in one of his works. You should remember that Buddha found that these Brahmins were corrupt, who were doing these yajnas only to take money or as fees or sambhavana from all the rest of the classes, working class, the business class, the people who do business, the Vaishya community, the military set of community, people who take care, who protect the land from external enemies, and also administrators who make sure everything is all right within the land. All these people were paying money to the Brahmins who could connect them with the devatas and get blessings from the devatas and make things happen. But these people were no longer capable. That is why in the Buddhism literature, there's so much against fake Brahmanism and fake Brahmins. And there's so much of antagonism against them and try to find the real truth. So in Buddhism, you see, right during the times of Buddha, all these things became ineffective. But we are studying it in an academic view. But I will not completely rule out that everyone today is useless. There may be some good, very spiritually powerful people who are capable of doing these yajnas and who are also yogis. They may exist. They do exist in some way. That's what I feel. So only priestly class for Upāsanā? Even I was looking at it in the older, Vedas, in the Upanishads, in the even the, what do you call, Itihasas, Puranas. There are 18 Puranas and the Upapuranas and the Itihasa. Itihasa means Ramayana and Mahabharata put together. They are known as the Itihasa. There's a word for epics. Epic is Itihasa. So if you look at all of them, do you find any yajna or sacrifice done without using Brahmin priests. If Brahminism is primarily guna based, that means we know, right? Brahminism was even in the Vedic culture. It is guna karma vibhagashaha, based on the true nature of the person. It is not by birth. Whether it is by birth or not by birth, or were there any non-Brahmins who were asked to do the yajñas? No. Why is it? I was wondering about it. Because just birth in a family is not enough, because janmana jayate shudraha. A person who is just born in a family is basic. Everybody is a shudra to start with, right? So, but why was Brahmin used? Means the Brahmin should have training in the Vedas for us. The intonation of the Vedas should be perfect. Any change in the intonation would destroy the yajna. Mantras, procedures should be perfect. Then only they could invoke the gods to help them. That is Mīmāṁsā. So Mīmāṁsā is not an ordinary science. Just because my father is a cardiac surgeon, nobody will ask me to become a doctor in a major hospital and ask me to operate on someone's heart. So by birth it is not possible. One has to be trained. Just training is not possible. One has to have yogic knowledge, practical yogic spiritual perfection. So it's all hard. In fact, probably today no one is eligible to do yajna. Today 99% of the Brahmins are only Brahmins by name only. By Gotra. Oh, I belong to the Kashyapa Gotra. I belong to the Angirasa Gotra. I belong to this Gotra, that Gotra, family of such Rishi. They are all just by name. They don't have the true qualification. This includes me also. And KSV, my teacher, used to say, don't invite me to Shraddha ceremony. See, Shraddha ceremony is done yearly after somebody dies. Their children, the children of that person who is dead, would every year on a particular day, on the day of the death or something, they will figure out the time and say, on that day we do some yajna or sacrifice, which is known as Shraddha ceremony, right? And in the Shraddha, they say, invite Brahmins and feed them. That's the general thing. And KSV, my guru, is to say, my teacher is to say, don't invite me, I am not a Brahmin. He came from the Brahmin family, and in fact, he was a very ardent student who never studied any English also. It's because he came from an agrahara, or a small collection of people who live in, and they only did Vedadhyana. All they did was study of the Vedas, teach, learn Vedas, and nothing else. From Kottimangalam, a city, a small village in Chennai. He comes from that family. But he says, I am not a Brahmin. I don't have the capability. So we know how, birth-based Brahminism is wrong, and it is highly misleading. So if this is the truth today, so Kottimangalam KSV Swami is today, and I am today here. So the thing is, what happened 1500 years back, Shankaracharya did say that Vedic culture has declined. I'm just roughly saying 1500, it could be any 1,000 years, whatever it is, right? He says Vedic culture has declined. Buddhism rose to power, stating that the corruption is there in the Vedic culture. The Vedic culture is corrupted, right? So, but are there examples in the Vedic culture who are non-Brahmins who were capable? Well, Janaka was a Kshatriya, military person. He achieved supreme knowledge. He was not Brahmin. Individuals of uncertain or non-Brahmin background being accepted for learning based on merit and character. That is Satyakāma. So in Satyakāma Jābāli, he was accepted even though his background or birth background was unknown. And he could be non-Brahmin, but it was unknown. Individuals, I would say uncertain, whatever they want to say, right? individuals transforming their varna through extraordinary tapas. Viśvāmitra did penance for a few hundred years and became from Kshatriya to a Brahmana. What is this? This is to have the power of Brahmajnana, realization, not just textual knowledge, realization. Right? So, what do we need? In the Mīmāṁsā, they say Viśiṣṭādvaita pratisandhana janna karyata jnana. One needs applied knowledge, implementation knowledge. And that comes through the awareness of oneself as the agent. I am the agent of this yajna. This form of upasana was commonly practiced in the sacerdotal or priestly Vedic traditions long time back. The teacher informs the student that this type of upasana, while valuable for rituals, cannot lead to the full knowledge of Brahman. That is the idea of the Kena Upaniṣad. This statement concludes the first section of the Upanishad. So we have finished the first section based on the explanation given by Sampatanga, my grandfather. So far, everything is okay? You understand?
Yes.
Yes or no? Yes?
Yes.
Good, good, good. I will go further and then my grandfather gave. Then at that time, who was a teacher? Teacher needs a definition and a student needs a definition. These two my grandfather had picked up from a wonderful shloka, a poem written by Vedanta Deshika. And that Vedanta Deshika had written this poem. The name of it is, I think, Nyāsa-Vimśati. And in that poem, 20 shlokas are there. In the very beginning, he says, who is a good teacher? Siddham Sat Sampradaye. That means one who is well versed in an established tradition. So tradition is important. That means his teacher, he should come from the right tradition. Why is it? Because in anything, right? So today so many students apply for a job, and I say I am from some village, some village institute of technology. It could be anything, okay? Some village institute, and somebody says I am from Princeton, I am from Harvard, I am from MIT. What happens? I will not get the job. They will get the job, right? So it is there everywhere if you look at it. At the time, it was very important that what lineage you come from in terms of teacher-student lineage. Sampradaya. Stiradhiyam, one has strong mind and stable views. He can have, this can happen this way, someday it can happen this way, someday it cannot happen this way. If he is unsure and confused, there is no use. The teacher should be strong and clear in his ideas. Anagham, one who is blemishless in thought, word, and deed. He cannot say one thing and do one thing. He cannot say one thing and think of something else, right? Thought should be pure, spotless and pure. Purity must be such that he can purify everybody else by just contact. Coming in contact with people, other people get purified. Bad people will become good by just good connection with this person. That should be the nature. Shrotriyam, one who is well versed in the Vedas and their teachings. Shrotriya means very knowledgeable about the Vedas, that is the scriptures. Brahmanishta means just knowledge of the text of the Vedas is not important, just sufficient. Even deep analysis of the meanings of the scriptural details are not sufficient. Brahmanishta, one should be one who is absorbed in the contemplation of Supreme Being. He should be a yogi, deeply attached to the Lord of the universe. And who, while doing anything, always one-minded, because he has Brahman inside him. He never refuses that. He always has a total absorption to the divine knowledge. Sattvastham, he should be dominated by Sattvaguna, not Rajoguna or Tamoguna, not passion, anger and all. and ignorance. He should be very pleasing and intelligent and then knowledgeable. Satyavacham, he should speak the truth and truth alone. Samaya niyataya sadhu vritya sametam, one who possesses good conduct as per the pure tenets. Vritti means living means of livelihood and also conduct. So how he earns? He cannot earn by cheating. The person should earn through proper methods, moral methods, and conduct should be moral. Samaya, well, the morality has a different meaning everywhere today in the world, and we know what is happening. Samaya means time or occasion, and samaya niyataya sadhu vritya sametam. So the thing is, he should know what is the time and occasion, and also the siddhanta, the true final declaration of the philosophical thought. So it should be samaya niyatam means it should see times change, right? So an acharya should conduct himself, must be in tune with the times and also with the code adopted by the Rishyas. So things may change when times change, but even though he changes according to time, he should be righteous, moral, knowledgeable, and things like that. This is the nature of an acharya. Everything okay so far? I guess so. Dhamba Suyadi Muktam. There are 14 qualifications, so it is not given up yet. Dhamba Suyadi Muktam. One should be free from arrogance, jealousy. So humility should be very important for an acharya. Oh my God, this is scary. Humility is very important. Jita Vishaya Ganam, one who keeps under control the senses, prone to go after worldly pleasures. So the thing is, all the activities, our thoughts and actions generally go after worldly pleasures. The person should have control of senses. Dirghabandham, one who is an all-weather friend and guide for everyone who seeks his or her shelter. Always seeks the welfare of those who have sought his refuge, both in this life and the next. Not just this life. He should be a friend in our future lives. Dayalam, full of mercy and compassion. Skalitye Shashitaram. If the students go away, swerve away from the right path, he should bring them to the right path, not ignore them and throw them out or something like that. Swapara Hitaparam, one who is selfless thinker and doer of what is good for the whole world. These are the 14 qualifications we need to look for in a guru. So good luck with your pursuit for a good guru. Now, Sadbuddhi Sadhu Sevi Samujurita. This is the handwriting of my grandfather. Unfortunately, I didn't have the original verse. I think I finally found it. This is the original verse. Sadbuddhi Sadhu Sevi Samujita Charitas Tattva Bodha Bilashi Shushrushastyaktamanaha Pranipatana Paraha Prashnakala Pratikshaha Shantodanto Nasuyuho Sharanamupakataha Shastra Vishwasashali Śiṣya Prapta Pariksham Kritavid Abhimatam Tattvata Shikshaniyaha. This is the oops, wait a minute. This is the verse which explains what is the nature of a student who is the right student to learn Vedanta. So Vedanta, it's just not, I took a class and I sat, I paid a lot of money, and I am now a student in Vedanta. That's not what Vedanta is about. Vedanta.
What is this text, Krishna? What is this text? Which text? Which text?
The same text, Nyāsa-Vimśati, written by Vedanta Deshika, which is 20 verses, and in that he gives the nature of teacher and nature of student. Here we are talking about the nature of student.
Thank you.
Sadbuddhi sadhu sevi samujita jaritaha tattva bodhabilashi. Sadbuddhi. I didn't know the meaning of it. I'm going to tell you from my own memory and knowledge here. Sadbuddhi means the student should have good intellect. True as sadhu sevi, that person should go and serve the saints, monks and saints, because he is not looking for money. He is trying to find who knows Brahman. And that Brahman may be hiding in a person wearing suit or some dress or something else, or he may be a beggar. And this person has to find out who is a true saint, and he should serve them, he or she. Samuchita charitas tattva, and he should have correct moral character, charita, right? Uchita, that is appropriate character. Tattva bodha vilashi, that person should be very interested to understand truth. Shushrushuhu tyaktamanaha. Shushrushuhu means the person should be ready to serve the teacher and the saints. Tyaktamanaha should not have pride. No pride. He should be ready to give up, whether he comes from the rich family, poor family, that family, this family, from the minister's family, nothing doing. The person should have no ego. Pranipatana paraha, he should be ready to fall at the feet of the guru, saying that, look, I'm really looking for Brahman knowledge. At any cost, I will come and learn. You know, the great king Janushruti, who met a great rishi called Raikva. What did he do? Janushruti was a great king. He owned the entire land around for hundreds and thousands of miles maybe. And what he did, he was trying to find knowledge. And somebody said Raikva was the right teacher. Even though Raikva was sitting on the road somewhere near a cart, and he was probably wasn't even clean, had not even showered for days. But he was a yogi, he was a jnani. But that great king came down in a chariot and fell at the feet of this Raikva in search of Brahman knowledge. See, that should be the nature of a student. Prashnakala pratikshaha. One should wait and ask questions. Cannot ask questions directly. Oh, what do you know about all this? Why? Attitude problem while asking question, and timing for when to ask the question. In the Kena Upaniṣad, we will see this. Why the students never ask some questions and they ask questions later on. Why? They were thinking about what the teacher was saying and slowly trying to digest. And they were not trying to ask questions immediately without contemplating properly. A lot of contemplation is required. People should write down, go back, think. Only then, oh, I'm not able to solve this problem. Can you help me solve this problem? That should be the attitude of a student. Shanto, danto, anasuyuhu. That will also help the other people who are learning from a teacher, right? We are not talking about anybody here. I'm not talking about me or anybody here. We're talking about, this is the definition given by great people about what is an ideal student. Shanto dantaha, peace of mind. A student cannot be disturbed. The person can't be hopeless. The person should have already practiced some mind control to get peace. What is the, what are the, I would just give you a small quiz now, okay? The quiz is only 2-minute quiz. We are not going to go long time. 2-minute quiz. What are the 3 things which can disturb your mind? 3 major things which can disturb your mind, given in the Bhagavad Gita. I will even give that as the clue. What would you say?
Fear.
Fear. Somebody texted it. Let me check the text here. Yeah, that is right. Chaitanya, Kama, Krodha, Lobha. The thing is that Bhagavad Gita gives these three as the gateways to hell. So if somebody can lose their calmness, it would be through kama, krodha, lobha. Kama is desires that can take away the peace. Krodha, like nobody's business. Anger is krodha. Lobha is greed. Many people, even the so-called intelligent, the so-called family Brahmins, the so-called knowledgeable people, the so-called even knowers of the Vedas, knowers of Upanishads and all, they forget this last one called lobha, which is greed. Greed is like an invisible air, like a poisoned air or something like, if you can't see a poisonous air or poisonous gas filled in a room, right? You cannot see. So like that, this lobha is invisible. Greed is somewhere, right? So that greed has to be also controlled. Only so a true student would have controlled the mind and who attains peace. Only when you leave all those three, peace comes. Dhantaha anasuyuhu, mind control, sense control, and one should not be jealous of others. Charanamopakataha, the person should totally surrender to that teacher. Shastra Vishwāsa-shāli, they should have trust in the scriptures. Oh, what are these scriptures? Some old person with a beard or something wrote 10,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago. Why should I bother? Now modern science is taken over. All these shastras are useless. If somebody says that, that person is not a good student. Shastra Vishwāsa-shāli, Śiṣya prapta pariksham. When the student comes, you don't tell the student right away. I was waiting for a student because nobody cares for me. Some student came and asked one question. That is enough for me. And he will go and tell the student 1,000 things for 1,000 hours. That should not be the way. That is wrong. Pariksham. The student has to be tested properly whether that person is the right person to understand. Otherwise, your activity will be a useless activity. It could take hours and thousands of years, doesn't matter. This teacher will be wasting teacher's time, student's time, and student will misunderstand, and student will spread. Students will think that, oh, I have understood everything, and he will go spread the wrong knowledge to thousands and thousands of people and destroy the entire world. So testing the student is important. That is why in olden days, the information was not given to everyone just like that. Now we do it, right? We do it. Testing is very important. Kritavid abhimatam tatvata shikshaniyaha. When all these things are okay, then carefully, whatever the Śiṣya asks, without any reservation, give it. Give that information. Tattvata shikshaniyaha. Give all the concepts. Give the true knowledge to such a student. This is what Vedanta has come up with. Now it's 8:09. Unfortunately, I want to take the next section. The next section, introduction, is very important. Let me do this introduction and we'll stop. The introduction is, as you know, the uniqueness of Sampatanga's ideas, or if you don't understand Īśāvasya Upanishad, you will not understand Kena Upaniṣad. He clearly says Kena Upaniṣad is not just connected like a hook at the beginning and end. Oh, the last words of Īśāvasya Upanishad connects with the first words of Kena Upaniṣad. That's not the way the connection is. The connection is all over the place. That means there are verses all over the concepts in Īśāvasya Upanishad that flows into Kena Upaniṣad. Only when these concepts are understood, Kena Upanishads are understood. Unfortunately, we never dealt with Isha first. I didn't know this kind of serious connection. And none of the other teachers even mentioned that to me openly. Or maybe I did not understand even if they had mentioned. So another problem is when you understand Kena Upaniṣad, there is a great difficulty. You know what the difficulty is? Shankaracharya, who is world famous, has declared earlier a powerful view in his commentaries that has taken over the Vedantic world for centuries. Untouchable. His power and his influence on the universe of Vedanta forever is very powerful. So to counter that, to even find unique, subtle issues in that, one has to carefully assess the scriptures or become a surrendered soul. You surrender to Shankaracharya, surrender to Advaita and say that is the only truth, the rest is garbage. Throw. You can do that. So you have two options. But the older, so coming from a tradition of Ramanujacharya, this Sampath wanted to study everything carefully. Don't assume Ramanuja as true, but study everything carefully. That is his view. Even my other Acharya, KSV, clearly said, one guy stepped into the class one day, and how do you everybody knows, right? Somebody comes into a new student comes into the class, and KSV was teaching, and he came into the class and Adiyan Ramanujadasan, he said, my name is Sridhara, Adiyan Ramanujadasan, he says. What does it mean? My name is Sridhara, I am a servant of Ramanujacharya, so I have come here to study under you, Swami, KSV Swami, can you teach me? This is what is the request from the student. KSV said, you are unfit to learn what I teach. Why? He says, you first have to give up your attachment to your Acharya. Think from outside. Don't be a devotee and look at Ramanujacharya. You have to think from an external perspective. Is it right or wrong? Be an impartial judge of knowledge before you accept and gulp it up. So you have to be that. So that's what he had, that is, KSV had that view. I think even though I had only, I knew my grandfather only till I was about 19 years or 22 years or something. Till I was like, I started at 19. He taught me till about 23 years or something. So 4 years maybe I knew. I didn't know him very well. But I feel that even he was very open-minded in his thought process. So to research and find out how to understand Kena Upaniṣad in a slightly different way, one has to do a lot of research. And I'm finding the problem myself. Easier to accept Shankaracharya directly and then forget about all this complexity. Why are we bothered? But after Shankaracharya, Bhaskara came, Ramanujacharya came, Vedanteshiva came, Madhvacharya came, Jaitirtha, so many people disliked, and they came up with a different viewpoint other than Shankaracharya. So the problem with the later people, it was much more harder, right? Simple. Think about this. Newtonian physics came. Newton said, these are the laws of physics. This is the third law of physics, the second law, and third, whatever it is, he said. It's very tough for the next scientist to come up and say, somewhere this Newtonian physics is not working. When the distances become very minute, the Newtonian physics don't work. When the speed becomes very high, the Newtonian physics don't work. So this kind of counter logic against an established system of thoughts, whether it is science or whether it is philosophy, it is very difficult. Hence, we are taking slow steps, and my grandfather did exactly that. He analyzed things very deeply. Hope this is not going to bore you to death. Does it? Be honest.
It is very interesting to take that stand and then analyze. Unless we view it from multiple directions, these kind of concepts are very difficult to understand. Only when we view from multiple directions, we will get an idea what it is, because by nature it is very hard.
Exactly. Yep. So with this, what I will do is we'll stop the lecture today at 8:16. We started about 7:10. I usually 10 minutes late, and everybody has figured it out now. So I was always late for all meetings. So please excuse me. So with this, if any more questions here, we will start with the next thing. What is it for tomorrow? What is the topic? Just let me share that and tell you what the topic is for tomorrow. Then you will know. So the concepts from Īśāvāsya Upanishad, as understood by Sampath Iyengar, is very important. Next, this is what, and he analyzes the whole idea of yoga, right? My grandfather's contribution is in the thought of yoga. And I'm also working on his Yoga Sutra commentary. It's very hard because he died without even giving me a proper copy. Like, 2 or 3 copies lying around in his nobody cared for it for 45 years. And now I picked them up. It's all like broken and some things are missing, pages are missing, and it's a hard work. So he has some unique contributions, and let's see how it works out tomorrow. All right. If there are no questions, I'll stop here. I'll give you a couple of minutes to see if there are any questions.
Krishna, I want to talk to you 2 minutes private. This is about the Radha. Definitely, only 2 seconds. 2 seconds.
No problem. Just after this class, I will call you.
Thank you.
Any question? No questions. All right. Asmat Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Parama Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmat Sarva Gurubhyo Namaha, Shri Krishna Parabrahmane Namaha, Shri Lakshmi Nrsimha Parabrahmane Namaha, Shri Lakshmi Hayavadana Parabrahmane Namaha, Sarvam Shri Krishna Parabrahmane.